Hey my friends, this is Davi speaking. I'm going to make a video here on Camaroso. Well, I wasn't going to make this video, family, but I think there are some points I need to wake some people up to. Look, here we're going to address why the Brazilian national team was defeated, why we don't have top level stars like we used to, and how is this connected to politics? Well, first, let's start with the influence of the Rotten TV network, which is one of the main reasons, both in politics and in the Brazilian national team itself. The influence of the Rotten TV network is very strong. They've been insisting for a long time, even before, I think, since Danga's time, they've been talking about the possibility of having a foreign coach. Why? That new order that wants to impose itself on the world, it doesn't want nationalism anymore. It wants countries without borders. That means, my brother, working on people's minds so that no one says, I'm from this region is my land. They don't want that anymore. So they've mainly been working on tools of influence, which are tools that influence people's minds, people's culture in sports, especially in sports like soccer. So from the moment we feel represented, seeing foreigners wearing our jersey, and we feel as if they were, in fact, nationals. This starts to open people's minds to the end of borders, which is what they've always wanted. There are people who didn't understand this, but I'll explain and you'll get it. Even those who don't follow our work, let's go from Dunga's time until now. Globo has been talking about this possibility because a certain team improved, because they have foreign players, because they have a foreign coach. Here there's this traditionalism, they don't want to accept it and so on. When Brazil started losing the World Cups, besides that last year with Tite, the Rotten Network, using Galvão Bueno, at the time they kept saying all the time that Brazil wouldn't make it. Brazil needed to open its mind, needed a foreign coach. And they started talking about this Lança Leite guy, right? For you to understand who he is, imagine you're going to cook a meal for a community. You go there, right? For a humble crowd. And if you want to succeed in making this meal for them, you have to get a guy who's a specialist in cafeteria food, a guy who's good at making tasty and cheap food in large quantities. You don't get a chef from France or Italy and bring him here, because he doesn't know how to work with this kind of cheap dish, and the food he makes isn't accessible to that population. So, this coach who's here, he might be really good over in Europe, but here, he doesn't speak the language. And I'm not just talking about the language itself. The language itself, you know? But I mean, he doesn't speak the way we do. It's not just the language itself. He doesn't speak the way we speak. What does it mean to speak our way? When we're just starting out, my brothers, for example, if you put me together with a guy who's just starting a channel, a guy from the Northeast, me at 42 years old and with 12 years on the platform, if you put that guy next to me, I can see flaws, I can see mistakes, I can see wrong ideas in that guy because he's from where I'm from. He has the same goal I had at his age, and since I'm older, I can notice that. So, what am I telling you? That player who grew up playing pickup games, you know? He used to play there in Rio, played on the beaches. When you bring in another player, let's say someone like Romario, to talk to this guy, he understands just by looking at the guy, he knows what the guy is thinking, and you can point the guy in the right direction. A foreign coach speaks differently, not just the language, but the way he communicates. He doesn't understand how we connect here. It doesn't match. That's something from the New World Order, my brother. So they're paying the highest salary ever paid to a coach, to this guy, just to get this mediocre result. Because between us, Norway wasn't a great team. They just had a great player at the level of our old stars. That was this Roland guy, right? Only he made the difference. So Rede Poder has been working since Dunga's time to finally get a foreign coach. They managed to do it, so Galvão Bueno kept talking all the time. We need to figure out how to make it happen, and that means talking to so-and-so to bring this guy here. A guy who never took part in a World Cup, as far as I know, a guy who never won a World Cup, not even a single World Cup. Even so, they brought him and thought that But there's the European Championship. Any coach who wins the European Championship, if you put him in the Brazilian league here, he'll get beaten badly because it's a different world. It's a different reality. It's a different way the players talk. And many times it doesn't fit, my brother. And the idiot's idiot. I'm not even into soccer, my brother. But I understand this because I understand people. So Globo worked on this because it's one of its roles to work there for the disruption, in fact, right? Of nationality. So let's go. Why don't we have stars anymore? Back in the day, if you looked at the national team, you had Ronaldinho Gaucho. It was tough. The coach had so many options that he didn't know who to take. There were so many stars and more coming up. I remember there were discussions, right? The guy would take the best players who were there, and there was still a ton more to take. He really didn't know who to pick. And even if he took the best ones, there would always be people upset because there were so many options. And why aren't there these options anymore? Then it goes back to politics. There aren't any more, my brothers. Just look around. My God, I'm 42 now, so I've been around long enough. I pay close attention to my environment, my brother. When I used to walk here on the streets of my city, when I traveled to neighboring towns with my father, what did I see a lot? My father handled business, and when I arrived, a kid would ask, "Want to play soccer?" They needed one more for the team. When I arrived, I got chills. I was always bad at soccer since I rarely played, only joining the occasional match. It was never really my thing. But it was such a popular thing, so common, that even if you weren't really into it, you ended up playing. There was always a kid showing up. "Hey, we need one more for the team. Come on, you can play defense or be the goalie." That's over now, man. Why? People don't play soccer like they used to because it's too dangerous. Back in the day, man, the kids would call you wherever you stopped. You walk down the street, they were there. The kids, they'd set up those little beach goals, as we called them, and they'd be playing pickup games. Today, with the country's lack of safety, what can a father do? He buys an off-brand one here. Look, stay and play, don't go out. He gets a computer and a video game. So Brazil stopped being that factory for soccer stars because of the lack of safety. Then you say, yeah, Davey, but people back then were better. Not at all. There were scammers, there were psychopaths. But you know what the difference was? It was the head of the family. My father had an assault rifle. Actually, not an assault rifle, a rifle. He had a rifle, right? He had a pistol, a .38, and a double-barreled 12-gauge shotgun. It was legal to have those things. When they created the firearms statute, this became restricted. If you get caught today with a .38 man, which is an old-fashioned weapon in most countries, but if you get caught here, you go to jail without bail. What does that mean? What does it have to do with anything, Davey? Are you out of your mind? No, it has everything to do with it, my friend. Before, there was the same danger that exists today, but family men were able to protect their families. So, the kid was playing there right in front of the sidewalk. If he screamed, his father would come out of the house with a 12-gauge shotgun to protect him. And people weren't always plotting or shooting at each other. Just look, the violence rates were much lower than today because people respected each other. Troublemakers wouldn't come around. During São João, things have changed since people stopped celebrating, like I said. But when people were still insisting on celebrating like before, having a big barbecue near the bonfire, setting off fireworks, a guy on a motorcycle comes by and robs 20 houses, my brother, 20 houses and nobody. None of those 20 families have any way to defend themselves because the government took away that right. So see how one curse leads to another, my brother. And more they keep pushing forward with this, taking away our right to have our family, to be true heads of the family. It's machismo, it's violence. See how everything is connected, my brother? There's no way to escape the curse. Understand this. So look, one thing that the Rotten Network wants is to bring in a foreign coach. They managed to do it even after being exposed by Argentina itself. In that final, right? In the last World Cup before this one. In the World Cup of, this one is 26-22, right? I think it was 22. Final, France versus Argentina with an Argentine coach, Argentine players, Argentine staff. They went there and gave a beating to the Rotten Network, ending the narrative they were pushing. Mr. Galvão Bueno, who's now leaving, is now criticizing the coach. I wanted to know if Globo is going to return the money that was taken from public funds to pay the salary of this incompetent guy, right? This foreign coach who was here. But anyway, they talked about it the whole time. No, because French soccer is much superior. It's modern soccer because it's a mixed team. So that's why they were working on that. Argentina went there and bam, played Argentine soccer with an Argentine coach. It was a pleasure to watch. Did Globo apologize? No, they kept pushing the same narrative that we needed a foreign coach, even with all the champions, the generations of champions, those guys who are there. I told this to a friend of mine and he said, but nobody wants it. No, Davey doesn't want it because of the rotten network. They destroyed poor Dunga and Dunga. He was one of those who brought us the best results. Same thing with Felipão, but Felipão gave up 7. Do you think it wasn't rigged, my brother? Did the guy really deserve to be treated the way he was? The last one now, I even forgot his name, right? Did he also need to be let go like Tite was? To bring in a foreign coach who had no results to show here. He already arrived at the World Cup half-baked, right? Since the qualifiers then, Globo was exposed by the facts themselves. But even so, they managed to convince many people who, unfortunately, really seem to have the IQ of a chimpanzee. It seems so. I'm not saying they do, because even with the result, with Argentina winning, playing typical Argentine soccer, they still bought into the rotten network's narrative and supported the foreign coach. You kept insisting on having a foreign coach. Now they've gotten screwed. And now what? What's up, my brother? We're not going to have a team of stars like we used to. We're really not. Because of the insecurity in the country, parents no longer encourage their kids to be out there on the street playing pickup games. In other words, Brazil stopped being a factory of stars because many times the families had no connection to soccer at all. But the kid was out there showing off on the street and people would say, that's your kid who plays really well. At school, the kid was the champion of the interclass tournaments, right? Then the guy wondered, could my son really succeed in this? And he watched the game and saw that he stood out. So more talented players kept coming up, and that's why Brazil has such a huge demand. But because of the left, who took away the father's power to be a father, today you're just a mere financier and have to be a coward, right? If a criminal shows up, you have to be scared out of your mind. See how everything is connected, my brother? Yeah, right? So it's really sad for us to see. Honestly, I didn't watch any game. Not a single one. I didn't see the opening. I didn't see anything, right? My mom was the one telling me about it. She said Neymar even scored a goal, right? I don't even know if that's true. And they lost 2-1, right? They missed the penalty. And Neymar's goal was apparently a penalty too. At least that's what my mom said. But my brothers, I'll tell you, when something goes wrong, everything goes wrong, you know? Brazil is on a cursed path. It's not because we have bad leaders there. It's not because people are choosing evil. People are enjoying what's happening. And I don't know if I've mentioned this to you in a video before, but I was talking to a guy here and he said, yeah, Davi, but there's an advantage to this government. I said, what is it? He said, my daughter is studying and gets 200 reas. The price of a barrel of oil has gone down now, right? It reached over $100. Now it's dropped to 70, 72. Gasoline should have dropped to around 4 reais and 50 cents more or less, according to my calculations here. Did it go down? No, it didn't go down. Do you see anyone upset about it? Do you see anyone really interested in serving the people, organizing a strike, organizing the people so they realize it? Not that either. So the truth is, my brothers, that people don't really care. They're satisfied, right? It was really good for Brazil to lose, for those millionaires to lose. So people can start looking where they need to look. Oh, because honestly, my brothers, things are only going to get worse if we keep acting like this. Because in every era, if you look at generation after generation, you'll see that they always face problems. I really like to watch Dr. Aeneas. Man, it feels like the guy just recorded it now. You see them talking. In fact, I like to watch some debates with old politicians because they used to get rougher too. They were even more aggressive in their speeches. There wasn't much of this politeness thing, you know? Man, they were the same problems, family. And the worst part is that the scale of these problems has increased a lot. The difference, if you ask me, Davi, for an analysis like this, what's the difference? What about the problems they talked about back then that are the same today? It's the scale. Yeah, you see that today we deal with much bigger figures than the amounts that were handled in the past. You see Aeneas talking about the public debt, and you'll see that today's, makes that one look like pocket change. So these are numbers that are literally impossible to pay. Anyway, my brothers, it's sad, right? Even with the Brazilian national team, unlike a lot of people, but it's all bought, it's all rigged. I don't believe that. I think it's nonsense. Yeah, there were years when I believed that too, that everything was set up rigged. I don't think it's like that, okay? Yeah, I'm being honest with you. You might even be like, wow, Davey, I thought you were smarter than that. Respect, brother. Respect your opinion and respect mine too. I think it could happen, right? Like in some other World Cup, that one with Ronaldinho, I think it was in 98, right? Ronaldinho's seizures were never explained. I believe they sold out, in my opinion. Don't you think they sold out? That was the French government saying, look, we've never had a World Cup and this is our chance. And they ended up winning. We had just won the 94 World Cup. They made a deal, and I think everyone there became millionaires, right? But overall, it's a serious thing, right? So it wasn't the World Cup itself, but the players who were there at that time who decided to make that deal, in my opinion, right? But the thing is, honestly, guys, it's tough out there, right? Even though these betting companies coming in too anyway. I almost forgot to mention something else to you guys. Fighting the rotten network is suicide. Guys, look at this. CAZE TV is banned by the CBF and loses broadcasting rights for the competition. The streaming platform did not meet the CBF's criteria and is out until 2030. So CAZE TV, which backed Lula, right, has to give up, really go straight to hell. Well deserved. And you who watched through CAZE TV supported leftists, right? You have to stop, my brother Davey. You're too extreme. I stopped watching when they said they were going to put a foreign coach in our national team. I didn't watch anymore. For me, it's dead. That team there is no longer the Brazilian national team. It's the crappy team. I don't watch it. As long as people don't take these radical measures, they'll keep supporting those people. So, in my opinion, any bad thing that happens to CAZE TV is not enough, all right? Because he did the L, encouraged thousands of young people to vote for the L. But then, as I'm reading here, right? Give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar. Render unto Caesar what is Caesar's. Here, look. Although, because you heard, the CBF said he didn't meet the criteria. And what are those criteria, huh? Although the organization didn't disclose which specific requirements were violated, the news caught the market by surprise, since CAZE TV has established itself as one of the main competitors of traditional broadcasters in recent years. Actually, this is the fulfillment of what Silvio Santos said. Trying to go against the rotten network is self-destruction. They don't play fair, they pull strings. The rotten television network, this Brazilian media was a mafia. Don't think they're just people trying to make a living fighting for ratings, that it's a fair fight. Everybody wants to get ahead. I want to get views here. Who doesn't? But I won't sell my soul for that. If I can get views by telling you the truth, I'll post it. If I have to show my ass to get it, I won't do it. There are lines I won't cross, but those guys sold out a long time ago. They're a mafia. They don't represent the people anymore. They're not just after ratings. They're trying to manipulate the population. And CAZE TV managed to break the ratings record, surpassing SBT and Global by a lot. And the guys reacted. If they can't win face-to-face in a fight one-on-one, then they pull some strings, because this is a narco state. It's sad, my brothers, that people don't realize this. I think Brazil will change when the generation starts to understand that change is individual. I guarantee it to you, that's it. I really like cars, you guys know that. Ferrari released a garbage Ferrari, a disgusting electric Ferrari. The car became a meme. Do you know what Ferrari did now? Do you know what Ferrari just released? Ferrari Manuali. Do you know what that is? Big manual gearbox here. Just like the Camaro Camaroso. Like this, you know? They released a gearbox like this in the Ferrari 6 gears V12 engine. Because we're the ones in charge, my brother. I guarantee you that this damn foreign coach wouldn't have joined our national team if everyone had just turned off their TV. If nobody watched while he was there, they'd have gotten rid of him the next day. But that's how it is. We have to support them the way they want. That's why we get screwed. That's why we get screwed. Because we accept what the system wants. We can't accept what the system wants. Anyway, man, I'm going to stop here because I'm going to post the whole video. All right? But anyway, I thank each one of you. God bless you, my brother. And leave your opinion, okay? Take care. I'm out.